me about SHANX FM, how it was created. How did you create that?
SHANX FM was started probably like in middle school. It was actually supposed to be a band called the SHANX, and it was a punk band. And so there were a couple of us, you know, we barely started picking up our instruments, but we wanted to already play in a band. And so then we started off as a punk band, maybe did a couple songs, and then after that, one of the guys just left and didn't want to be in the band anymore. And then after that, you know, we replaced him with somebody else, and so on and so forth. We kept replacing each other, and then, but in the end, I just ended up alone. And so after a few years, I started recording stuff on my own by myself. And so then, because of all the changes and different styles of music that we were playing throughout the years, that's why I named it SHANX FM. It's almost like a radio station of all of this material that we have gone through. But so SHANX FM, from then on, that I was always into punk rock, and then so later on got introduced to post-punk, new wave, darkwave. So I've always leaned toward making this kind of music, but I didn't know what it's called at the time. I'd say that was mainly, the main influence were the rock en español scene. So it's that's rock in Spanish. So a lot of 80s and 90s bands in Spanish have that vibe, that sound to them. Mm-hmm. It has like this, it's kind of like 80s vibe, 80s gothy vibe. So after, you know, goth comes out, there's so many subgenres of this type of music. So there's, you know, darkwave, cold wave, post-punk was obviously a little bit before, and so it's just kind of all intermixed. I mean, there's like minimal synth. There's just you know, a bunch of, like I said, little subgenres of the goth genre. Mm-hmm. And so I like to consider myself the dark wave and post-punk. So that's kind of the sound that comes out.
Okay. Could you tell me a little bit about your creative process, as how you create songs, what inspires you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I usually I'll like have an idea in my head, and I'll just grab my phone, and then I'll just record myself going like you know, just that way I can I don't forget it, and then later on I'll go pick it up, and then with the guitar, or maybe I think in my head that it'll sound better with a synth, you know, or a bass, you know, depending on what my mind is leaning toward, I guess. Mm-hmm. Kind of odd, because usually, you know, I'll be jamming or something and nothing really comes out, but if, like, I'll think about it and then I'll hum it, then that's where I get like my main ideas.
So how about, you know, how do you put it from your brain into the computer? How do you get it from brain to song?
Usually I'll fiddle around with the guitar. That's like my main go-to to get ideas down, away from my brain into the guitar, or, you know, mm-hmm. And then after that, I already have like a beat in mind, and then I'll hit up Greg Shapovalov, and he's the guy who records my music. And so then I'll hit him up and just be like, hey, I'm ready to record some music. And then so we'll go over there and we'll mess around with stuff. And he also has a very big input on with my SHANX FM project. He does have a lot of input on sounds and ideas. He'll be like, hey, well, why don't you try this? Maybe this, or, you know. So we kind of...
Is he kind of like your producer?
I'm the producer, but I mean, he is my co-producer. So, okay. You know, I do like to give him the credit of having a big influence in the sound of the music.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I'm wondering, because when I listen to some of your music, it obviously sounds like there's a lot of, at least to some extent, some post-processing and some fun stuff going on with it. Can you explain like how you put it together?
Yeah. So usually we'll start off with like a scratch track of bass or guitar, you know, just so that way I know where I'm at in the song. And then we will program the drums or the percussion accordingly, and then we'll re-record the bass over it, and then we'll record the guitar and then synth. So we try to get the song, the instruments done before I get on there with vocals. And like I said, you know, usually I already have an idea of how the song is supposed to be, the structure of it. But there are also a lot of times where we'll kind of like start branching off and just kind of like experiment with some sounds, you know, like playing backwards or this much reverb, or just let it kind of like grow into this something else. And so I think that's also part of the fun, but also kind of gives the song a total different feel, and you know, so as you kind of travel through the song.
Yeah. So wait, so do you consider yourself what, like a vocalist and a guitarist, or what should those ways describe you?
I would say, I mean, just musician, because I mean, you know, I'm not a drummer, but I can play basic drums. Bass, I try to keep simple, because that's just the style that I do. Can I play bass, you know, a little more complicated? Yeah, I can. So, I mean, I'm just an all-around musician, because I play the synth, you know, I play guitar, bass, vocals, some instruments I've never even picked up, and I'll make them do something, you know, I'll find something out of it.
So wait, so you created SHANX FM. When did you officially create it, and when did you put SHANX FM out into the world?
We officially created it, like I said, back in middle school as the SHANX, but later on, SHANX FM, I introduced it, I guess, to the public, probably like in 2012 or something, 2013. And I did that as releasing a music video, solo. Then after that, I was in a band called Robot and Me, and so whenever we were maybe too busy, or one of the members was too busy to do something and move forward, I would go do my solo stuff with SHANX FM, and so I'd release stuff like that on my own. And then I let that go for a while, because I was in a band, Rich and Rare Rebels. Shout out to Rich and Rare Rebels. I was with them for a few years, and then after that, I started Datura, and that's the band that I'm currently in, Datura. And then when COVID hit recently, in March, I decided to pick up SHANX FM again, because, well, the band members, you know, we wanted a social distance, you know, at least at first try to feel out the situation before we kept, you know, just going to practice together and stuff. So I decided to just continue writing on my own and doing my own stuff, and so that's when I kind of picked up SHANX FM where it left off back in like 2013, 2015, you know. And it's been kind of scattered throughout the years, but I think right now I decided to just kind of take it full on and move forward.
Yeah, because I saw that you like created an Instagram, let's say, in March. I'm not sure if that's when I was created or not, but so it's been evolving over time.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, the sound has changed as well, and so now that I have, like, I know exactly the sound that I want, so now it's a lot easier for me to just continue on.
Wait, when you say you know the sound, what do you mean?
I mean, before it was just kind of just messing around with synths and guitars and stuff, and just kind of making music, but I didn't have a specific genre that I could relate to, and so I was just calling it alternative. You know?
So wait, what was the genre that you said? This is kind of like Darkwave? So
yeah, Darkwave, post-punk.
So wait, you said you can relate to it. Could you explain how you relate to it? How
I relate to the genre now?
How you relate to the genre and how it relates to some of the songs you created?
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, I mean, post-punk and darkwave, it all branched out of punk rock. You know, I've always been into punk rock. You know, going to shows or playing in punk bands. Um, the style, you know, spiky-haired mohawks and spiky jackets and all that stuff. So I mean, I've always been into punk rock or subgenres of it, and so this is just another subgenre of it that I feel more comfortable with.
Wait, so can we talk about your style? Because you very much got a style going on right now. Could you explain it a little bit? Describe it?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's just trad goth, just traditional, just the goth look. You know, obviously they're like, oh, you look like for pictures and stuff like that, and they're just like, oh, you look like the guy from The Cure, you know, Robert Smith. And then I'm just like, well, yeah, that's fine, but it's like, well, I hardly listen to The Cure myself. Not that I don't like them, I mean, they're good, but it's like, you know, it's not really my go-to. But it's just kind of like a style that has evolved within that genre. And so, you know, they're Death Hawks and, you know, just the big hair. I mean, just that whole style just keeps kind of changing over time, but it's still a part of that genre. So yeah, I mean, just kind of like the pale, dead look, you know, just kind of dark and stuff. I like that.
Yeah. So how about, do you have any goals with SHANX FM?
Yeah.
In the future?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, as soon as everything opens up, I would like to just start doing shows. However, you know, with my band Datura, where we started off doing shows here locally, and then we expanded out to, you know, Seattle, Portland, and we already had plans of going out to San Francisco, but obviously that's not going to happen anytime soon. But so something I want to do differently with SHANX FM is start out in a different country first, and then work my way back home.
What do you mean?
So I want to start out, like, let's say South America, or, you know, somewhere like one of the countries in South America, or start out in Mexico City or Oaxaca, or anywhere in Europe, because that's where the main following is for this project, and then slowly work my way into the US and then back like home. You know, so instead of working my way out, I want to work my way in. So that's something different I want to do. And also the way that I've released my music is differently than what my band is doing. And so, I mean, I'm doing it more as like an experiment to see like what's working, what's not working. And so just kind of exploring the grounds.
So is a lot of projects that you just kind of experimenting and trying different things?
Yeah, well, I guess so. Like, let's say, you know, Datura will release stuff as full EPs or full albums, and then whereas SHANX FM has only been releasing singles, but it's like a lot more often, and so it just kind of keeps the attention like more like one right after the other. So it's like, okay, he's constantly putting stuff out, or a music video or something, you know? So it just kind of keeps the attention focused on that project.
Okay, yeah. Are you working on something, or is it kind of on pause?
Yeah, no, it's not on pause. I already have a bunch of other songs that I haven't released, and so I am currently working on the full-length album for SHANX FM. So yeah, I mean, I'm constantly in the studio, probably like once or twice a week, sometimes. So.
Wait, so do you go to an actual studio, or is it just like with other musicians you know?
Well, I go to Greg Shapovalov's house, and he has like his whole house is pretty set up, you know, for recording, and so I go to him.
Wait, is he a local producer? Or?
Yeah, he's a local guy.
Yeah. Okay.